Namaste, very good morning. So, today, yet again, we are still in chapter 12, which is a good thing. I think um, progress is not good in everything. So, good that we've not progressed out of this chapter very
Beyond
fast.
4 or 5 pages, maybe.
Yes. So, um, which is kind of keeping in tune with the idea behind this book learning also. This is a not trying to cover a chapter each session, but diving deep. The idea is just to enjoy and try to see what we can learn, and if there is anything that we can take back, which can really help us in our daily struggles. That's the whole idea behind this. So let's start by invoking the taking the name of Divine Mother, Om Kali and Om Guru. Okay, so let's do this chant. Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om 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 Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om 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 Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Kali Om Kali Om Om Kali Om Guru Om Om Guru Om Guru Om Om Guru Om Guru Om
Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru. Let's pray. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, Beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Masters of Kriya Yoga,
Great Masters of Kriya Yoga,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahasaya,
Lahiri Mahashay,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
our beloved Gurudev,
our beloved Gurudev,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Paramhans Yoga,
saints of all traditions,
saints of all traditions,
humbly we bow at thy feet.
humbly we bow at thy feet.
Dear Masters,
Dear Masters,
we are gathered here today
we are gathered here today
as your children
as your children
in gratitude
in gratitude
for all these great teachings.
for all these great teachings.
Bestow on us
Bestow on us
the highest understanding
the highest understanding
and wisdom
and wisdom,
through which we may receive them.
through which we may receive them.
Help us to transform our consciousness,
Help us to transform our consciousness,
not just through understanding,
not just through understanding,
but through the daily consistent practice
but through the daily consistent
of all that you have shared with us.
practice.
May we follow your footsteps
May we follow your footsteps
in coming home to thee.
in coming
Om.
home.
Let's do a brief meditation. Feeling the presence of the Gurus with us in the room, granting that wisdom that we are all seeking. Shanti, Shanti.
So we are still in the Hermitage, thankfully. Um, so far, we've seen Shri Yukteswarji telling stories about his childhood, um, the simplicity with which he lives, and with which he carries his wisdom without any show, without any pretense, and like a child, very naturally. When one thinks about a man of wisdom, an image comes, somebody very grave, and that's an image which a lot of disciples have about Sri Yukteswarji also. But in his daily habits, Master has shown that he was actually very childlike, unpretentious, undemanding. Um,
We are on page 109.
and an example of this is, as midnight approached, my guru might fall into a doze with the naturalness of a child. There was no fuss about bedding. He often lay down without even a pillow on a narrow davenport, which was the background for his customary tiger skin seat. It just, maybe our lives could be that simple. So much fuss we make about bedding at night. Two, three things which we hope to cover today is one, we want to learn from mosquitoes. Uh, Two important stories that we learn. Uh, Nothing in the world, as Buddha said, is small enough not to teach us anything. So mosquitoes will teach us two very valuable lessons today, and then also possibly we will also cover the the healing power of the mind, which is very important for us, for everybody. So my early months with Sri Yukteswar culminated in a useful lesson: how to outwit a mosquito. At home, my family always used protective curtains at night. I was dismayed to discover that in the Serampore Hermitage, this prudent custom was honored in the breach. The language is so nice. Yet the insects were in full residency. I was bitten from head to foot. My guru took pity on me. Buy yourself a curtain and also one for me. He laughed and added, if you buy only one for yourself, all the mosquitoes will concentrate on me. I was more than thankful to comply. Every night that I spent in Serampore, my guru would ask me to arrange the bedtime curtains. The mosquitoes one evening were especially virulent. This reminds me of my childhood. Growing up in Prayagraj, mosquitoes used to be very virulent. But Master failed to issue his usual instructions. I listened nervously to the anticipatory hum of the insects. Getting into bed, I threw a propitiatory prayer in their general direction. A half hour later, I coughed pretentiously to attract my guru's attention. I thought I would go mad with the bites and especially the singing drone as the mosquitoes celebrated bloodthirsty rites. No responsive stir from Master. I approached him cautiously. He was not breathing. This was my first observation of him in the yogic trance. It filled me with fright. His heart must have failed. I placed a mirror under his nose. No breath vapor appeared. Now he's a scientist, huh? How many of us will think of doing this? Grabbing a mirror from somewhere and putting under the nose if somebody's not breathing. To make doubly certain, for minutes I closed his mouth and nostrils with my fingers. His body was cold and motionless. In a daze, I turned towards the door to summon help. So, a budding experimentalist, my poor nose. Master's voice was shaky with laughter. Why don't you go to bed? Is the whole world going to change for you? Change yourself. Be rid of the mosquito consciousness. Meekly I returned to my bed. Not one insect ventured near. I realized that my guru had previously agreed to the curtains only to please me. He had no fear of mosquitoes. His yogic power was such that he either could will them not to bite or could escape to an inner invulnerability. He was giving me a demonstration, I thought. That is the yogic state I must strive to attain. And what is this yogic state? A yogi must be able to pass into and continue in the super consciousness regardless of multitudinous directions never absent from this earth. Whether in the buzz of insects or the pervasive glare of daylight, the testimony of the senses must be barred. Sound and sight come then indeed but to worlds fairer than the banished Eden. First thought that comes to my mind when I read this story is the first night when Mukunda went to his guru's ashram, when he came back from Agra, right? And he went and he spent the first night with his guru, and he was feeling very happy to be sleeping next to his guru. Where was the bedtime curtain then? That night, no mosquito bit him, right? But now mosquitoes have started biting. So this also, it feels like it's the guru's play to teach him a very valuable lesson. That night guru must have protected him because he doesn't protest in the earlier parts of the chapter. But here what is very interesting is that as he is going to bed, he is dreading an anticipatory hum of the insect. So you're already afraid. You're already you're already thinking that, oh yes, I am going to be bitten. And the more that fear consciousness is building, the more that magnetism is building up, the more you find that the mosquitoes actually find you and they actually start biting you. And before I read this, I've always wondered throughout growing. As I said, we used to have a lot of mosquitoes where we used to live, open yard, and it was welcome, welcome season always. So I used to always wonder why mosquitoes bite of some people but don't bite some other people. Right? What is going on there? And it always used to be relative. There were some people who, if I sit with, I'm safe. They'll bite that person only, never bite me. But some other people, they will be safe, I'll get bitten. So I used to always think maybe there is something chemical is going on, or I don't know what is going on, or maybe my blood is more tasty or their blood is more tasty, something like that. But this is the secret. The secret is actually magnetism. That this mosquito consciousness which he talks about, get rid of the mosquito consciousness. Mosquito consciousness is another term which he is using for this consciousness of fear, something which is there first in your awareness and then you're afraid of it. What he's telling him is, get rid of not just the fear but also the fact that mosquitoes are around. Just get rid of the whole concept. And so many children, they are fearless. They don't know what dangers they are incurring when they are, say, playing on a field or playing, they're balancing beams, etc. They're just running. As parents, we know, we have all the fears going on in our mind, but nothing happens to them. Neither are they aware of a lot of dangers, nor does it affect them. This also is this danger consciousness, this fear consciousness, which is built into us. And yesterday in our class we were talking about some of the yamas, where one of the yamas also is that the more fearless and harmless we become towards others, the more others also become to ourselves. And yesterday we talked only about harmlessness, but the completion is this fearlessness that it brings. And it is more than courage. Courage is something that you feel a danger and then you have to mount courage to face it. This goes beyond that. This is a simple zero magnetism for that kind of fear. I'm yet to build that magnetism, honestly. Mosquitoes still bite, but this is something to really aspire for.
When you first read this book, it's very easy to just skim through these pages and, Yukteswarji is saying, get rid of mosquito consciousness. And what does it really mean? If mosquitoes are there and they are biting you, what can you do about your consciousness to prevent that? And going back to the point that Abhijit made earlier, naturally the mosquitoes have always been there. Now, all these days, initially, perhaps Mukunda was so consumed, his consciousness was so consumed with the joy of just being in his master's presence, of having found his guru, of being in the hermitage, that there was no space in his consciousness for anything else, including the presence of the mosquitoes. There was no awareness. So maybe the mosquitoes never came to him, or even if it did, there was no awareness of it. So that's the point which is being made here. Sometimes we just become too attached to the idea, or we become identified with the fact that, oh, I'm going to sleep tonight, this place is full of mosquitoes, how am I going to sleep? And that keeps playing over and over again in your mind, and naturally that draws all the mosquitoes to you. There is no doubt about it. Now, it's not just about the mosquitoes here, right? That consciousness, getting rid of a certain consciousness, is something that we all try to do. I have struggled with sleep issues over the years, and a lot of people come and tell you it's all in your mind. Just go to sleep. But the biggest challenge is to be able to get rid of that tendency from your mind, isn't it? So when you think about non-attachment, there are several meanings of what non-attachment could mean, and the most obvious meaning people think is just to be non-attached to money, to family, to your loved ones, so that you can become free. But when you dig deeper, you also have to understand that you have to be non attached to a particular idea कि ये मेरे से नहीं हो सकता है. I am not able to sleep. I'm not able to sleep during the day. And I'm looking at my sister here because I was sharing some of my experiences with her. Many of us struggle with that idea of just getting restful sleep. And even if you can just tell yourself, or wake up in the morning if you've not had sleep at all, and not worry about, not be attached to the idea that, oh, I'm so tired, how am I going to spend the whole day now, there is so much work lying ahead, you will see yourself instantly becoming free. It is almost like an affirmation where you say that I just have to drop the idea that I have not slept well, for instance, and you can pass your entire day with that acceptance. That acceptance is a big first step, which ensures that there is no leakage or drain of energy anymore. Swami Kriyananda, some of you may know, when he was appearing for one of his examinations, he had not prepared for his French language at all. Was it Greek? Okay.
Greek, yes.
Okay. And all that he did when he knew that he had to pass the exam somehow, he closed his eyes and he entered, or he visualized that he's entering the consciousness of a Greek person, and everything started flowing to him naturally. Isn't that amazing? He's given so many relatable examples. Now, this example obviously is quite lofty, but he's given many other relatable examples where he says, if you see a cold coming, just use a little bit of will and get rid of that consciousness of that cold, and suddenly you will see yourself it not troubling you at all. And of course, those healing powers of miracles, etc., are covered later in the book, but it's important to understand that the consciousness of anything that we are struggling with can be changed instantly, and we can become free of it.
So over the years, I have, for some reasons, I have tried learning Tamil, and I have found that when I feel my environment, my energy, I am a chameleon. It just flows. It flows very naturally. But when I feel that it is something which is foreign to me, I have to really put in an effort. Oh, what words to use, etc. It all goes, and I could just can't come up with a single word. So what Swami Kriyananda said is so relatable. I'll also share one story. There was a few years back. I found that I was becoming too fussy about my bedding, and I was like, "What is this going on?" So I thought, we could be sleeping anywhere, right? So I thought, okay, I'll sleep on a yoga mat. So what? So I just put a yoga mat on a. We had used to have an empty room. I just put a yoga mat, a simple pillow, and I started sleeping there. And to my surprise and astonishment, I realized that sleep was so nice and blissful, and so much of comfort that we think we need, really, outside comfort to be comfortable inside, it's actually not needed. Now, of course, I don't sleep on, I've ceased that, I don't continue to sleep on it, but that learning has come with me, that I'm carrying that learning. And by the power of will, you can change the environment around you, just like the mosquito consciousness. By your will, you can change the environment. You can also affect, to some extent, even nature, or how you feel nature, like cold, as he was mentioning. Your willpower can change the way you perceive cold. Maybe the temperature is still the same, but the way you perceive it changes. And yeah, maybe other examples
Yeah.
later on we
I
can
was
give.
looking at Priya to understand how fluent his Tamil can sometimes be.
Okay, second most important thing in this is the yogic trance that he has demonstrated, which is something which all sadhaks aspire for, is complete pratyahar, where entire energy has gone away from the body, not just a little bit, the body has gone out of your perception a little bit, but entire moving of energy away. Because when that happens, if you mentally try to feel your body, you will not be able to feel it. And when the energy is sucked away, and then the senses, they stop troubling you. And that is where the gurus say real meditation begins, because once the senses have stopped troubling you, then the mind is free, and then you can truly do dhyan. And of course, he's demonstrating samadhi here, where even the heart has stopped, but the steps are the same. And that ashtanga yoga has given those, all those steps, and as sadhaks we should aspire for, we should try to make it happen. Because the switch turns when you, most of us believe that, subconsciously may believe that nahi, mere liye thodi hai wo karte hain, right? But this, if you can just turn that switch, that yes, I can also draw energy away from my body, my energy from my heart and body can also go up. And with this expectation, if you sit and meditate, the progress you will find becomes much easier. Because the spiritual path is not supposed to be very difficult, it is just that we make it very difficult because of our limitations. Okay, mosquitoes again. The instructive mosquitoes served for another early lesson at the ashram. It was the gentle hour of dusk. My guru was matchlessly interpreting the ancient texts. At his feet, I was in perfect peace. A rude mosquito entered the idyll and competed for my attention. As it dug a poisonous hypodermic needle into my thigh, I automatically raised an avenging hand. Avenging hand. Reprieve from impending execution. An opportune memory came to me, one of Patanjali's yoga aphorisms, that on ahimsa, harmlessness. Yukteswar says, why didn't you finish the job? Master, do you advocate taking life? Oh God. No, but the death blow already had been struck in your mind. I don't understand. Patanjali's meaning was the removal of desire to kill. This world is inconveniently arranged for a literal practice of ahimsa. Man may be compelled to exterminate harmful creatures. He is not under similar compulsion to feel anger or animosity. All forms of life have equal right to the air of Maya. The saint who uncovers the secret of creation will be in harmony with its countless bewildering expressions. All men may approach that understanding who curb the inner passion for destruction. Guruji, Should one offer himself a sacrifice rather than kill a wild beast? No. Man's body is precious. It has the highest evolutionary value because of unique brain and spinal centers. These enable the advanced devotee to fully grasp and express the loftiest aspects of divinity. No lower form is so equipped. It is true that one incurs the debt of a minor sin if he is forced to kill an animal or any living thing. But the Vedas teach that wanton loss of a human body is a serious transgression against the karmic law. And Mukunda says, I sighed in relief. Scriptural reinforcement of one's natural instincts is not always forthcoming. We were discussing ahimsa yesterday, and typically ahimsa we understand it as non-violence, right? But here he has explained it as harmlessness. Non-violence means there is violence and then you're trying to stop, but harmlessness is, it goes deeper. It goes deeper to the very instincts. You may not be hurting anybody, but do you have the feelings to hurt somebody? So it is not just about the outward action. From deep inside, your instincts, your motives, they are all harmless towards others. And when you say harmless, it doesn't mean just hurting, it also means not cheating anybody also, right? And this kind of harmlessness, once it comes, then the natural question is that then what do I do about cases where I need to, a soldier needs to kill, right? We need to kill insects, mosquitoes, cockroaches. What do you do about it then? And here that answer is given that you do what you have to do, because human body is more precious. You need to preserve it, you need to keep things clean. But that doesn't mean that you become angry towards creatures that you need to exterminate. Do it to the extent you need to, don't go overboard, but you don't need to harbor anger. Same thing can be done thinking that it is a necessity, and you do it and you move on, versus doing it in an angry way and then carrying that anger. And that anger is what actually then binds you. And this is true even for interpersonal relationships, whether in your office or in your home. It's not that you don't need to become angry ever. You need to become angry with your children. A good example which Swamiji gives is, um, who is a better mother? A mother whose child is going to cross the road and the traffic is coming and she says, "Oh no, my dear, you shouldn't be doing this." Or the mother who grabs his hand or her hand, pulls the child back, maybe gives a little bit of this, and says, "Don't cross the road. The car is coming, you would have been hit." Right? So, who is more compassionate? But you don't need to, this, even this demonstration of anger doesn't need to come from real deep down intentions of hurting. Once we remove this intention of hurt, then we are free to act. Master used to get angry with disciples. There's a nice story which Yogaranji, which Swami Kriyananda tells about Master, where he was scolding a nun. She was sitting at one end and there was another disciple sitting at the other end. The Master was pacing the room. It was a big hall. And as he was walking towards that nun, he was shouting and with a lot of anger on his face. And he was scolding her for something which she was not learning, some attitude that she had to learn, and she was not learning. So he had to resort to anger. As he would go there, then he would turn. So now his back is towards the nun. He is facing this other monk. Now he's smiling, winking, but still talking angrily. Okay, that nun has no idea what is going on. But Master was not caught up in anger. He had to show anger because something needed to be done. And Swamiji said it always, we could see the hurt in him when he had to become or show anger towards anybody, even though it was not coming from inside. But this is the kind of harmlessness that we need to also inculcate, because only then we'll be able to live a very balanced life. I mean, when we have fever, we take antibiotics, right? We have to kill the bacteria. But we don't need to get emotionally caught up in that. Yeah.
And we all know the best example of one of the greatest battles where there is too much outward violence, but the yogi does not incur any sin or karma. Mahabharat, Gita. Um, so just how innocently Mukunda asked, "Do you advocate taking life?" That's exactly how Arjuna starts the Gita by asking, am I supposed to be killing my own family members? Because we have grown up together and there is a lot of love which I share for them. How do you advocate taking their life? And then, of course, Krishna goes into this whole concept of uh, it is important to do your dharmic duty in this case, and you are pure in heart. And Yukteswarji is also trying to make the same point that karma is created not in the outward action, but it is in your heart. So, for anyone who thinks that, just by virtue of doing outward good actions, you can earn good karma, it's seldom like that, because the God is responding and listening to the entirety of who you are as a being, and not just the spoken words or the outward action, which is exactly why Jesus Christ also said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall find God." Not blessed are the ones who are going and doing outward good activities only, or feeding the poor or taking care of them. All that is important, yes, but it always needs to come from the right bhav. And if the right bhav is there, even if it is not happening outwardly, through your mere consciousness, you are able to influence the vibrations around you, and that's the most important thing.
And it is said that once somebody has perfected ahimsa, the yam of ahimsa, all the creatures, the entire nature becomes harmless towards you. And this was demonstrated by saints. This is demonstrated always by saints in their lives, and it was demonstrated by Shri Yukteswar ji also, where there is a story. We won't go into too much detail, where there was a cobra that was coming to attack, and he simply treated that cobra as a small child, just waved at him, clapped a little, and that cobra slid between his, dropped its hood, slid between his feet, and just slithered away. And this made the disciples realize that their divine master is beyond fear of hurt from any living creature. This is the siddhi that Patanjali says it comes when you have perfected ahimsa. And Swamiji adds that perfection of all the yamas happen while the progress is direction. Perfection happens only in samadhi. So even if we are not perfect, it's fine. We can keep working on, and yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
we'll reach there.
I would like to share that story that Swamiji shared about Master.
Hmm.
He was going with a group of boys, probably from his Ranchi school, into the jungle in a bullock cart, and they had to sleep in the jungle for the night. And it so happened that the driver of the bullock cart had kept the cattle inside a shed, but the door was unlocked. And at night, they could all hear the roaring of tigers, and then they could hear the cattle bleating because the door was open. And Yogananda ji asked the driver, have you made sure that you locked the door? And he said, no master, I completely forgot. So he casually walks out. Master casually walks out. He asks people around him, would anyone like to join me? And of course, nobody dared to go out with Yogananda into the forest where the tigers were roaming freely. And after some time, the devotee saw Yogananda. The tiger was just lying at Yogananda's feet, and Master was actually scratching his belly. And we also have a picture. I don't know if that famous picture is from that story,
No, that's
or that's more
later on.
of yeah. But this is exactly what Patanjali means. When wild animals and ferocious criminals become absolutely tame in your presence, what saints can do is that they see God in everything. We go about talking about everything is one and we are united in consciousness and energy. But what it really means is that in the most difficult of situations, at least with human beings, we have to find a way to see God in them, and we have to find a way to empathize and understand whatever they are doing. They are trying to do it from their highest good and from their highest space of consciousness. So even with animals, when when we see them, there is this fear consciousness, obviously, because we think we know them to be animals and nothing else. And there's a certain response that we obviously draw. But when you see God in them, God with master, God with animals, it's all the same. And that's exactly what the saints are able to demonstrate in so many examples.
And before we move on, I would just like to say that we should continue seeing God in everybody, even harmful, ferocious animals. Considering where we are right now, if faced with one, let's use common sense and let's wait for
Yeah.
Samadhi to come before we can scratch any bellies.
And think about this: there are so many animation movies, made for children, where when a big dinosaur or a dragon comes, the first response of the king and the rulers are, "We have to go and kill them." But somehow that child, which is pure in heart, it always starts to feel that maybe that dinosaur or that dragon doesn't want to kill us. I can feel that love coming from that animal, but why can't anybody? And there are so many movies made on that. And then at the end, there is perfect harmony and cooperation, and they live happily with each other ever after.
Yeah, common sense. So now we move on to the second theme for today, which is the power of the mind for healing. One afternoon, during my early months at the ashram, I found Sri Yukteswar's eyes fixed on me piercingly. You are too thin, Mukunda. His remark struck a sensitive point. That my sunken eyes and emaciated appearance were far from my liking was testified to by rows of tonics in my room at Calcutta. Nothing availed. Chronic dyspepsia that had pursued me since childhood. My despair reached an occasional zenith when I asked myself if it were worthwhile to carry on this life with a body so unsound. So he was really unhappy about his disposition. Medicines have, Yukteswarji is saying, medicines have limitations. The creative life force has none. Believe that, you shall be well and strong. Sri Yukteswar's words aroused a conviction of personally applicable truth which no other healer, and I had tried many, had been able to summon within me. Day by day, behold, I waxed. 2 weeks after Master's hidden blessing, I had accumulated the invigorating weight which eluded me in the past. My persistent stomach ailments vanished with a lifelong permanency. The key words here, his words aroused a conviction of personally applicable truth, which no other healer had been able to summon within me. Now, here he is giving a hint of what is going on. It was not that Shiv Teshwarji actually did any kind of magic. No. What he actually did was arouse that, erase that thought and build that conviction in Yogananda, in Mukunda himself, that he can have a healthy weight. And the creative life force has no limitations. We know that, but to have that life changing conviction in us, believe that and you shall be well and strong. This is something which is one of the deepest teachings on the path. See, yoga is all about energy. Yoga is about, it is not about listening, it is not about believing, it is not about learning, it is about doing, experiencing, and then doing better, more and better. And it is the path of energy. This path of energy then means that first of all we need to then slowly start building this conviction that yes, this life force, this energy which I have started to channel, which I have started to feel, it can actually do everything. And the way as master advocates we should do is use this truth in small doses to build our conviction. Maybe we cannot build the conviction wholesale like this happened here right now, but in small doses. Whether we were talking about mosquitoes, or whether how much cold that I feel, or how much hot that I feel, or any other, even a small discomfort or a small illness, see how you can channel the life energy to remove that obstacle. In small cases, we find that in small cases it works, because the conviction needed was not very large. But then that helps in building a slightly larger conviction, which we can then use in other situations, maybe any projects that we are doing, any situations that we are caught in. And again we see that yes, life energy is something, if my mind is convinced, if I am able to have that conviction, that change comes out. And then slowly it keeps building, and we'll of course see later on how there are few more examples that are there. Shri Yukteswarji has also, he says that healed others from ominous diseases, tuberculosis, diabetes, epilepsy, paralysis. But this is not something which is special to Shri Yukteswarji. He says, years ago, I too was anxious to put on weight. During convalescence after a severe illness, I visited Lahidi Mahasaya in Banaras. Sir, I have been very sick and lost many pounds. So now Lahidi Mahasaya says, I see Yukteswar, you made yourself unwell and now you think you are thin. This reply was far from the one I had expected. My Guru, however, added encouragingly, let me see. I am sure you ought to feel better tomorrow. Taking his words as a gesture of secret healing toward my deceptive mind, I was not surprised the next morning at a welcome accession of strength. I sought out my master and exclaimed exultingly, Sir, I feel much better today. Indeed, today you invigorate yourself. No, master, I protested. It was you who helped me. This is the first time in weeks I have had any energy. Oh, yes, your malady has been quite serious. Your body is frail yet. Who can say how it will be tomorrow? The thought of possible return of my weakness brought me a shudder of cold fear. The following morning, I could hardly drag myself to Lady Masha's home. Sir, I am ailing again. My guru's glance was quizzical. So, once more you indispose yourself? Gurudev, I realize how now that day by day you've been ridiculing me. I don't understand why you disbelieve my truthful reports. Now, Lady Mahasha says, really, it has been your thoughts that have made you feel alternatively weak and strong. My master looked at me affectionately. You have seen how your health has exactly followed your expectations. Thought is a force, even as electricity or gravitation. The human mind is a spark of the almighty consciousness of God. I could show you that whatever your powerful mind believes very intensely would instantly come to pass. Knowing that Lahiri Mahasaya never spoke idly, I addressed him with great awe and gratitude. Master, if I think I am well and have regained my former weight, shall that happen? It is so even at this moment. My Guru spoke gravely, his gaze concentrated on my eyes. Lo, I felt an increase not alone of strength but of weight. Lahiri Mahasaya retreated into silence. After a few hours, I returned to my mother's home. My son, what is the matter? Are you swelling with dropsy? My mother could hardly believe her eyes. My body had now had the same robust dimensions it had possessed before my illness. I weighed myself and found that in one day I had gained 50 pounds. Friends and acquaintances who had seen my thin figure were aghast. A number of them changed their mode of life and became disciples of Lahiri Mahasaya. My Guru, awake in God, knew this world to be nothing but an objectivized dream of the Creator. Because he was completely aware of his unity with the divine dreamer, Lahiri Mahasaya could materialize or dematerialize or make any change he wished in the cosmic vision.
I just want to say a few words here. Now, imagine we read this book, very enthusiastic. We go out and start meeting our friends, and we say, your creative life force has no limitations. Believe that, and you will be well and strong. Well, how much of an influence do you think it will have on that person? It's very hard to believe in something unless you have experienced it directly. And the most important point here is the power of the Guru. There are some very interesting words used here. Even Yukteswarji says that taking his words as a gesture of secret healing towards my receptive mind. What has made his mind receptive? Because he has completely laid himself at the feet of his Guru and he has pledged his unconditional love to him. In the beginning of his chapter, when Yogananda ji finally comes back to Yukteswarji, he gives him his unconditional love, and Yukteswarji says, now I take full responsibility of your life. Until you're holding something back, you will never be able to open yourself up completely to be able to receive that power which is coming from your Guru. So it's important to note that Guru plays a very important role. 50% of the grace comes from Guru's power after you try to convince yourself of these spiritual truths. That's number one. Number two, even with the Guru, Lahiri Mahasaya could have taught Yukteswarji a lesson as to how powerful his life force can be, and you can become well instantly. But even the Guru made him oscillate between those moments of being weak and weak and strong, and then seizing that opportunity, knowing that now is the time when Yukteswarji has experienced that the power on his own. Let me now share that wisdom, which is the human mind is a spark of the almighty consciousness of God. Without that experience, how receptive would Yukteswarji be, or how receptive would we be unless we go through our own experiences, unless we go through our own suffering? And here also, um, not is it just a spark of almighty consciousness of God, it he goes on to say that whatever your powerful mind believes very intensely, it's not like a vague hallucination or visualization. It has to be intense, it has to be strong, and then only can it manifest itself. And that intensity and that strength comes when we establish contact with God through our Guru, and we know that power and energy is one of the eight aspects of God. So, in whatever we are trying to assimilate here, please understand that all of this is being made possible because the role of Guru is very important in your life.
And all of us at some point must have experienced how our thoughts, our anticipation of something has actually made that true. Uh, Especially if we think about any moments of crisis where we've really uh, had to do what we thought is not possible of us. Um, Something that comes to mind is that of a similar nature. Many years back, we were at the hospital, and I had to sleep there. I think our first child was on the way, and I was coming down with severe fever, viral, and I was like, okay. And there was no place to sleep. Of course, hospitals have what they are only comfortable maybe for the patients, not for the people who are there too. So I just lying in a corner somewhere, trying to sleep, and this intense thought, I still remember very clearly. This intense thought came to me that I cannot be unwell. I am not going to be unwell. I just slept for 3 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, I think, not more than that. I woke up perfectly healthy, and I cannot say that I have totally internalized that experience. But that experience and similar experiences everybody has. These are the experiences that we can draw on and try to see if we can internalize them more, make them more applicable to us at our own will. That is when we've truly owned them. And Shikteshwarji ends here by saying that just like there are physical laws, the cosmos is actually governed by laws of the consciousness. And those are the subtle spiritual laws that once you change those laws, if you can work at the level of the consciousness, anything is possible. Babaji could materialize a palace in the Himalayas instantly and then dissolve it instantly, right? Master says the entire universe that we see is a thought materialized by God, held together in place again by the will of God. And as soon as that will is pulled back, the whole thing will disappear as if it was never there. We imagine, destruction as something, we see in movies happening, but actually I think things will just vanish once the time is over.
Just by withdrawing that force
Yeah,
of
yeah,
God.
just done. It's just done. So I think with that, thank you to the mosquitoes, and thank you to the guru for bringing all the teachings to us. Should we do an arti?
Yes.
Please.
You take the table.
Sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk, oh, thy name. In thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk, oh, thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. 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 I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk, oh, thy name. I will sing thy name, will drink thy name, and get all drunk, oh, thy name. Om Guru,